Hello community, I hope you are doing good. In this discussion we will see how to see different types of CLI commands specifically for the loggers. And in case you missed previous discussion about how to add different types of log messages, please check, link is given in the description. If you want to learn more about Odoo, you can visit the Weblands channel. Under the home screen you can see Odoo 17 and 18 development tutorial, and right now we are working on this playlist. If you are a beginner and want to learn from the beginning, you can visit this playlist because this is the main playlist and those are the sub playlist topic wise available. All right, and guys, if you didn't subscribe this channel, please subscribe. It will give you the latest upcoming sessions notification. All right, let's back to our main topic. What is the loggers, right? So let's back to our previous session, review some points. So here we used here the custom method, right? And these 5 different types of logs. Now here, so here we already talked about info, debug, error, critical and the warning messages, right, in the terminal. Let's see one more CLI command, which is the log handler. Okay, so here let's say this is our terminal, and here I am trying to add some CLI commands. So for example, you can see here I'm using here like active the Odoo service. Then after I'm using here this database, and my add-ons path is this one. Okay, what is add-ons path? You don't need to worry about. In our upcoming session I will explain how to add multiple custom add-ons in your existing project, right? So here you can see like this, right? Here let's say what is the debug handler, right? So for example, if you want to track the log-sql service logs, we already know like different specifically 5 types of logs available: info, error, critical, warning and debug, right? So here using that one we will see what type of values we have to provide in the log handler, right? So for that we have to use log -- log handler. Okay, here we have to provide the prefix and the log level. All right, so this log level we already know, right? This is the same one, the info, debug, error, critical and the warning, right? Now this one we have to mention here. So which type of logs you want to see here? So here let's say you want to check ORM related logs, right? Then we have to use here odoo.orm, right? And then after we have to provide the level. So this is our handler and we have to provide the correct handler, otherwise it won't be work. And then after here we have to provide debug like this. In everything is the level should be always in capital or else it won't be work. Okay, so let me enter here, and now you can see the debug, it will automatically work as normal here, right? You can see here. After that, let's say if I'm going to the student, or let's say the contacts, right? In case there is any ORM related logs available, you can see here. Then after, sorry, and then after let's say specifically for the workzip, right? The library WERKZEUG. Then after let's say you want to use as a critical, so that means the only the critical informations you can see here, and it will automatically disable all the workzip related logs from here, right? Let's say if I'm going to the calendar, you can see something like this in a dashboard, sales. So you can't see multiple options here, right? So that is the main thing here. Then after here let's say here you want to specifically module you want to track, right? Then you can use here odoo add-ons student, and then after colon, and you can provide here the debug, or let's say the warning messages specifically you want to track, right? Debug, warning, let's say warning, right? Then after let's say if I'm going to the student, and once I click to this button, now you can see here, oops, sorry, this is the student, not the school, right? Once you click here, so now you can see the specific error messages you can see. By default you can see info, error, critical and warning messages, but not the debug one, right? So here let's say you want to debug everything, right? Then simple you have to do is like colon. So here let's say here I'm trying to add, so here simple I will not use here any prefix, and simple I will use here debug in a capital, right? And now you can see the debug mode automatically active all the logs including SQL logs, you can see here. So whatsoever we are trying to execute, like we are connected with the Postgres database, right, including that part. Then after what is the that specific queries we are passing to the Postgres side, and whatsoever the debug custom debugs which we added or the by default Odoo's provided, all the logs, I mean, you can see here now specifically while you are trying to debug everything, right, in that cache you have to use this prefix handler. And let's see here, once I click to this button, now you can see here these 5 different types of log message including this debug, right? Now the question is, if you don't want to use here this handler and still you want to track some basic logs, yeah, then simple you don't need to use here anything. By default it will track the info level, right? Info level means this part, the info, and by default you will see this error message, these logs also excluding this debug. Okay, so let's see here, once I click here, now you can see all 4 types of logs available except debug, right? Now another thing is, let's say you want to track only the web logs, then there is a one also CLI command which is -log-web, right? And then after, let's say if you refresh the page, right, you can click to this button, so automatically you will get some warning messages or the debug, the basic debug mode, right? Then after, there is also one more CLI command which is //log/sql. So once you click like that, so it will automatically active the SQL debug mode, you can see here, right? So let's say if I will refresh this page, so in doing this refresh the page, and whatsoever the query requested from front end to the back end, right, and from back end to the Postgres, whatsoever the query they want to fire, so those queries you can see here, you can see here this query, right? Then after this query, right, and now you can see once the cron job automatically execute, right, then after automatically this SQL query you will get from the terminal. So basically, like whenever you want to track or let's say debug anything related SQL, then you can simply use this desk SQL or desk web, right? And one more thing is, let's say if you want to debug everything, right, then simple you can use here handler, then after equal to colon, and simple you can paste here debug. It will active the backend plus the SQL related debug and the basic logs. So now you can see here, so once I will refresh the screen, now you can see here a lot of queries fired, right? If you compare with the log SQL with this handler. So I hope you understood about basic logger related CLI command. And yes, one more thing, let me raise one more error message. So let's say in case I'm using here the debug as a small character, right, so you can see here, but sometimes like let's say info, right, let's say here warning, or let's say if I'm writing here ABC, right, then it will work. Why? Because there is some conditions in this log handler. it will by default the specific keyword is not match, then by default it will use the info, right? So here that point you have to also remember, you already added here the correct log level, right? But it's in the small character, that it's always fired such query, this error message you will get. Okay, that thing you have to remember. So yeah, this is the CLI logs command, and in case you have any doubt related to this topic, please comment below, and see you in our next session.